The Venetian one is configured as a maritime empire, aiming to stabilize its sphere of influence through the control of trade routes, particularly long-distance trans-Mediterranean ones. Its origin can be traced back to that of the city itself, driven by the absence of a true hinterland and the weakness of its position on the edge of the coastline. To ensure its survival, it made a bold and radical choice: to trade land for the sea, entrusting commerce with the task of providing the means necessary for the prosperity of the entire community. The nature of that empire was settled by the logistics of conducting trade with the Eastern Mediterranean and Black Sea in galleys and coque. Both vessels needed frequent stops at secure ports to refresh their crews and escape from sea storms. Without those ports, Venetian trade would depend on the goodwill of others. The Venetian Overseas Empire, or Stato da Mar, was an extension of the city. It was dominated by a chain of fortified ports, combining galley harbors with naval facilities that included galleys sheds, workshops, and arsenals, with space for large sailing ships. These towns were fortified against the local people and potential foreign invaders. The strategy of Venice was to maintain control of the sea, to defend cities that could be protected from the sea, to pick up more when was easy, and to retaliate for acts of aggression by seaborne raids. When the Ottoman power emerges, Venetian control of Levantine trade damaged Padishah revenues, which were critical to Ottoman imperial security. There would be as many as 7 wars fought in 2 centuries and a half by Venice against the Ottomans, and the periods of peace would be no less characterized by piracy and low-intensity conflicts. The need for Venice to protect its chain of bases, which became evident as early as the famous cruise of the year 1000 by Doge Pietro II Orseolo, from which the Orseolo doctrine takes its name and became the long-term constant of Venetian geostrategy and geopolitics until the end of the Republic assumed an urgent character. The vital eastern route, the only one suitable for navigating up and down the Adriatic, to the weather, marine condition and maritime technology until the advent of steam propulsion, needed to be safeguarded. Venice established the Capitano del Golfo, captain of the Gulf at Kotor, with a permanent fleet to protect the merchant convoys, the Muti. However, Kotor alone was not enough. Along the coast, up to the Drin River, the area was dotted with more or less extensive Venetian bases. Additionally, Kotor had been secured against possible raids both by land and sea. As early as the first half of the 15th century, the islet of Sveti Stefan near Budva was transformed into a fortified support point by settling soldier colonists there, creating an outpost for Budva. However, the problem worsened after the unfortunate outcome of the First Venetian-Ottoman War in 1479. Venice lost the line of the Drin as well as that of the Bojana River, with the Scutari, leaving Kotor exposed from the rear. The Ottomans, established on the southern shore of Lake Scutari and along the coast at Dulcinea and Antivari, Bar, were in a position to threaten the Venetian strongholds. The Venetian worked only if the internal line from Budva to Bir Bazar fulfilled its role as a defensive bulwark. Hence the importance of the quadrilateral of Montenegro. Hinged on the 4 strongholds of Budva, Pobadac, Paštrovići, Sveti Stefan, and entrusted to the experienced and combative local troops of the Republic, served as a true military frontier. This solution anticipated the great 17th century insight of Leonardo Foscolo, the Provveditor General who enlisted Catholic Slavs, called Morlacchi by the Venetians, fleeing from the four Ottomans, offering them land in exchange for military service. This policy was clearly inspired by precedents such as that of the Quadrilateral, especially in the particular form of administrative and military autonomy granted to the forces stationed for frontier defense. It is quite curious to observe that in all the conflicts fought by Venetians against the Ottomans, except for the first one, the men of the Republic achieved only victories in this particular theater of war. The Venetian victories led to the frontier of 1701, known as Grimani Line, or Acquisto Novo. Even during the unfortunate last Venetian-Ottoman War, the Venetians achieved victories in this area, pushing the frontier as far as Imoschi. This was formalized in 1721 in a treaty that established the Mocenigo Line, also known Acquisto Novissimo. Nothing would change again until the fateful May 12, 1797. Even then, however, these lands would not be conquered, and until the very end they would